going on, then that's different. Other than that,
I don't think so. Good to go.
all right. And with my scores, are you okay? Any conflicts? Anyone? Yeah. Perfect. We are good to go.
Maybe seated. Matter of the state of Maximilian versus Lampert Family Carnival. Appearances, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Johnny Wynn. Today I'm joined by co-counsel Shaylee Desai.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
And behind us we have Carson Hay.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
And David Benarentko.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Together we represent the plaintiff in today's case. We're also joined at council table by our party representative, Ms. Tab Thurm.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. And on behalf of the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Pettimores. I'm joined today at council table with Rhea Devnat.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Together, we represent the defendant, the Lampert Family Carnival, who's being represented today by Ms. Legacy Lampert.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Also testifying for the defense is going to be Ms. Angelina Asher.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. All right, before proceeding, are there any housekeeping matters you wish to discuss?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I want to invoke Rules 603 and 615, one of which sequesters all witnesses barring the party representatives and the other constructively swears them in.
So granted, or any objection from the defense?
No objections. We just like to note that Ms. Lampert's our party representative.
Understood. Any other housekeeping matters on behalf of the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. We also just ask your preferences on movement about the well and approaching witnesses at any point.
So for this particular sort of setting, free use of the well on behalf of counsel with respect to the witnesses. We can just go ahead and walk over there towards the witness stand. Okay, anything else on behalf of the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor. With that, we're ready to proceed with opening statements.
Any housekeeping matters on behalf of the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, just one. We'd like the court to note that we are pursuing an affirmative defense of an assumption of risk in today's case. We would just like to take note and have a jury instruction that that does not relieve the plaintiff of meeting their burden of a preponderance of the evidence to prove their recklessness claim.
Understood. Any objections on behalf of the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else on behalf of the defense?
We're ready to go.
All right, so let's start with opening statements. You may go ahead and proceed whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. They promised safety, and they didn't deliver. It's July 2023, and Maximilian walks onto stage. He's about to perform one of the most dangerous tricks a magician can do. But he's not worried, because weeks ago, the defendant made him a promise. Promise to keep him safe. So when Max's assistant brings out a gun onto that stage, well, Max assumes that it's a brand new gun, just like the defendant promised. When Max's assistant points that gun at him, Max assumes that that gun has been inspected, just like the defendant promised. And when Max's assistant fires that gun, Max assumes he's not going to get hurt, because that's what the defendant promised. He was wrong. They promised safety. They didn't. Look. That's why we brought a suit of recklessness against the defendant, Lampert Family Carnival. And we bear a burden of proof. We have to prove by a preponderance of the evidence, or more likely than not, that the carnival had a responsibility to keep Max safe, that they broke that responsibility without any care for Max's safety, and that their actions directly caused Max's death. And members of the jury, we're going to meet that burden today because we're going to call two witnesses to the stand. And their testimony is going to show you that they promised safety. And they didn't. Look. First, you're going to hear from Miss Gabby Brett, Max's assistant. Miss Gray is gonna tell you about the trick that she and Max were supposed to perform that day. The bullet catch trick. She'll tell you that it was one of the most dangerous tricks a magician like Max could perform. I'll tell you that. She told him to the defendant. That she told the defendant this trick could cost Max's life. The defendant's response, members of the jury, you'll learn that she forced Max to do it anyway, because she promised he was gonna stay safe. She promised that she would buy brand new equipment for Max, and that she would hire a prop master to keep all of that equipment well maintained. But the evidence is gonna show today that the defendant didn't deliver on those promises. Because second, we're gonna call Tab Thorne to the stand, an undercover investigator at that club. And Ms. Thorne is gonna tell you exactly how we know the defendant didn't deliver on her promises. Ms. Thorne will tell you that throughout the entirety of her investigation, she never once saw a single member of the defendant's staff inspect the gun, clean the gun, disassemble the gun, or maintain the gun. Tell you that after. Watch Max up. Members of the jury, they promised. Say. They didn't. Deliver. Now. That's never. And you got to go. By the end of today's trial, we're gonna ask you to find the Lampert family carnival liar. Thank you.
Counsel? We'll be seeing some half defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
No matter what they did, this was dangerous. Members of the jury, there's a person who was affected by this tragedy. I want to properly introduce her. This is Miss Legacy Lampert. She's the owner of Lampert Family Carnival. You're gonna learn she's a mom, a businesswoman. You'll learn she's a hard worker. Members of the jury, you'll find out that her carnival has been in her family for generations. So putting someone's life at risk just to save a little cash? It's not something she would even think of doing. Not to her performers. And certainly not to her carnival's reputation. So how do we end up here? Talking about a man who died. Well, members of the jury, the night of the bullet catch trick, July 14th, 2023, Miss Lampert, she's standing in the audience, looking at the stage. She's holding her breath. See, her and the magician on that stage, they've talked about the dangers of this trick. They've talked about what precautions are necessary to make it safe. But both of them, they know that even under the best of circumstances, this trick can be fatal. So the gun goes off. And for a second, all she hears is silence. Then the screaming starts. Miss Lampert watches as people start running past her, pushing her to the side. She watches, petrified, as the carnival that she worked so hard to build, a place where people were happy, where they were safe, it falls apart right before her eyes. She never wanted this. She tried to prevent this. No matter what she did, this is dangerous. Members of the jury, that's important. As the defense today, we've elected to take on what's called an affirmative defense, assumption of the risk. That means today we're embracing a burden of proof to show you it's more likely than not. At Legacy Carnival, well, they tried to take all the precautions necessary to make that trick safe, but at the end of the day, it was dangerous, and the magician performing that trick knew it was. They did it anyway. We're going to show that's true, members of the jury, with two witnesses we'll be calling today. The first witness still here, Angel Ashman. You're going to learn that's the prop master in the armorer that Ms. Lambert hired to manage the court. Members of the jury, you'll learn this prop master went through every certification, got their training, that she took the precautions to make sure that the gun was locked in a safe. She triple checked the ammunition. You'll find out that she took every precaution necessary to make sure that trick was safe. Next, you'll hear from Ms. Legacy White. She's going to take this witness stand and she'll tell you about a conversation that she had with Mr. Maxwell. That when they were talking about this bullet catch trick, she didn't force anyone into anything, as the plaintiff would have you believe. No, members of the jury, Mr. Maximilian said he knew that this was dangerous. You're going to find out he said, even on the best day, this could go. Members of the jury, every single person in this courtroom is going to agree that what happened to Mr. Maximilian is a tragedy. What you're here to determine is who's legally at fault. Trust you'll let the facts and not your emotions guide your judgment. No matter what she did, this was dangerous. We'll ask you to find Lambert claims, not mine.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiff's first witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Gabby Gray.
You have a question? You want to-
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury? Hello? Gabby Gray. Why are you here today, Ms. Gray? I'm here. Someone that I love died. Who was that person? His name was Max. And we've got a picture of Max here. Can you tell the members of the jury a bit about him? Sure. This was Max. He was a magician. So he loved making people laugh, smile. This was his favorite thing to do. What kind of tricks did Max do? I think if the trick existed, he'd probably done it at some point. I was his assistant. So we would make animals appear out of nothing. He would escape tanks of water. He was probably the best magician I'd seen. When did you and Max meet? 6 years ago now. We met in Paris in a magic shop, of all places. And he and I started talking and just never stopped. But you've been working together ever since then? Yeah, he and I traveled the world. Yeah, we saw everywhere. Just working for different companies. It was amazing. I'd like to talk a little bit more about your guys' work life. What was the last carnival you worked for? Lambert Family Carnivals. It's the last one that we worked for together. You know who owns that company? Legacy Lamper. She owns it.
Do you see her in the courtroom today?
I do, she's behind me in the blue. That's her.
Your Honor, let the record reflect she's identified the defendant.
So reflect.
When did you start working for the defendant's company?
We didn't work for long. Started just a couple months before Max died in the summer of 2023.
Did you sign a contract?
We did. It was standard with everyone we worked for.
Would you recognize that contract if I showed it to you today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with what's been previously admitted as Exhibit 2. May I approach witness?
You may.
Is this the contract that you and Max signed?
Yeah, this is what we signed. With my,
In this contract, what are you agreeing to?
a lot of the normal stuff, any contract, how often we would work, how much we get paid, but the most important thing here was that the Carnival Legacy, she promised to make a safe environment for us. She promised that we would be safe. Were you? No. Were.
Objection, Your Honor, Wax Foundation.
Your response.
Yes, Your Honor, our next question is going to be, why weren't you safe? However, Your Honor, it's also stipulated today that we're here because Maximilian died because he was shot during a trick that they were doing together. That's already established in today's case.
For overrule that objection at this time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
What day did Max die?
It'll be a year tomorrow. July 14th of 2023.
How did he die?
We were doing a trick together for the carnival. When he died.
What trick were you doing?
It was called the bullet catch. Basically, as his assistant, I would fire a blank, so nothing was supposed to hit him. But it would look, like I was shooting him, but I wasn't. And then he would pull a bullet out, and it would look like he caught it in his mouth. It was a real proud piece. It was cool to see.
Talk about that trick a bit more. Have you ever done it before?
Yeah, we'd done it twice together when we were at other carnivals, and then Max had done it another 5 times before he and I met.
When you and Max would do that trick together, what props did you need?
Pretty straightforward: a gun, blanks, and just one bullet.
Usually, who would provide those things?
When you work at a carnival, they have someone called an armorer. Basically, it's their job just to get you your firearms materials, make sure they're okay. So the armorer would be in charge of all that.
Objection, Your Honor, Wax Foundation, if it might be heard of.
You may.
Your Honor, the witness is testifying to the responsibilities and duties of what's called an armorer. We believe that it's important in this case for the jury to determine whether or not the armorer for the Lambert family carnival successfully fulfilled the duties that she owed, the duty of care. Your Honor, we don't have any foundation that this witness has any experience working with armorers, that she knows the responsibilities of an armorer, or where she's getting this information from. I need to lay that foundation in order to testify to what duties the Lambert family carnival had to her.
Maybe heard.
You may.
Your Honor, we've already laid the foundation that for the last 6 years, this witness was working with Max, that they were doing magic tricks together. She's laid the foundation she was working in carnivals and that she'd done tricks involving weapons before. She's simply saying right now, this is the foundation, that it's standard procedure when you do a trick with a weapon, you're given an armor, someone who helps handle and get you the weapons. This actually is the foundation.
Objections overruled at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. And you were saying how you generally got the props for your trick.
Yeah, it was the job of the armorer at each carnival. Did you usually practice this trick before you perform it on stage? Of course, we'd practice dozens of times with materials just to make sure that we had it down and that, you know, everything you were given was working properly.
I want to talk about how that was different the night of the accident when you were working for the defendant's company. How'd you get your points?
Basically did it. It was very, very difficult to get what we asked for.
So what was it like getting it done?
We'd asked for a new gun, but when I saw the one that they were gonna give us, and it scratches over it, it didn't look new at all.
What about the blanks? What was it like getting those?
It's incredibly difficult. We didn't get them basically until we walked on stage on the 14th.
So were you able to practice the trick at all?
No, I wanted to, but we weren't able to.
Anything else about doing this trick different, working with the defendant's company?
I mean, the prop room, sort of disorganized mess, which, you know, I didn't want when there's firearms and bullets in there. That was the only other thing.
I'd like to talk about the night of the accident. How was the show going so far?
The bullet catch was gonna be the last trick. So up until that point, everything was going well.
When the bullet catch trick started, how's that going?
Well, it was gonna be okay. I took the gun out of its case, pointed it at Matt. I did what I was supposed to do. I pulled the trigger.
And what happened when you pulled the trigger?
I was looking at the audience. Because I was waiting for them to start clapping.
Did you ever start clapping?
Started screaming. People started running away from the stage.
And what went wrong?
Objection calls for speculation.
May I be heard?
Right, overrule, this is the witness's own personal knowledge.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Ray, that night, what went wrong?
Oh, I did everything I was supposed to do, Max, and we did everything right. I had to watch him.
Objection to Lex Foundation, Your Honor, that they did everything right that they were supposed to do.
So the witness's own personal knowledge. Opinion. If you're asking with respect to an expert opinion, with respect to the firearm, I don't think that this particular witness has not been designated an expert, so at this time, we're.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to have you explain this again. But what went wrong that night?
No. Max and I did everything we could. I had to watch him die.
Sorry for your loss. Thank you for being here. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely, Your Honor.
You may.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gregg.
Well,
ma'am, you'd say that Max was the person you cared about most in this world, right?
I loved him so much.
You were as close as two people could be, right? marry me, right?
Did I thought we would get married.
Ms. Gray, like you told us on direct examination, you met each other while you were living in Paris, right? You
Yeah.
were working at a magic shop?
I was working in a magic shop, but I need to walk it in. But it didn't take my eyes off.
Ma'am, could you just tell us who you were working for at the time?
I was working for another magician in Paris.
What was his name?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Ma'am, would it refresh your memory if I showed you your affidavit?
Sure.
Could you just flip in that binder to your affidavit in front of you?
You know where it is?
Yes, ma'am, it should be the first affidavit in that binder.
I see.
Looking at line 6, ma'am, you see that?
I was working for a man named Alex at the time.
So, ma'am, it was when you were working for Alex in Paris. That's when you and Max met, right?
Yeah.
He asked you to be his assistant.
He did. He took me out to dinner. Convinced me to start traveling the world with him.
Miss Gray, you loved Max Maxfield, right?
Absolutely.
So, of course, ma'am, when Max passed away, you wanted someone to blame for his death, right?
Just wanted answers.
Man, you wanted someone to blame for that death, didn't you?
You know, I didn't want someone to blame. I knew who was to blame.
Man, you can't accept that you and Max might be responsible for the choices you made, right?
No, it wasn't our fault. He and I had done this before. We had done everything right.
Ma'am, I want to talk about why you're blaming the Lampert family carnival. In May of 2023, you were contacted at that carnival. They wanted you to work for them, right?
Yes,
Miss Legacy Lampert, she met with you to discuss a contract.
he did.
Max, he didn't hesitate to sign that contract.
No.
He signed that contract within the first hour, right?
Yeah.
And in that contract that you signed, it says that you understand that magic can be dangerous, right?
Yes, I mean, we understood that it can be dangerous, but it was the job of the carnival to help us be as safe as we could. That was on them.
But man, you agreed that you understood, you and Mr. Maximilian, that magic can be dangerous, yes or no?
Yes.
And you started to develop a routine of tricks to perform for that carnival, right?
Yes, we did.
One of those tricks, Maxie was chained up.
He was chained up in a tank of water. He didn't have to escape.
All right, man, they chained him up and dumped him in a tank of water, right?
Yes.
You know that's dangerous.
But he would escape. We had all the proper materials, to do it. So it was always okay.
It was dangerous, right, man?
Oh.
You did it anyway.
Because we knew we would be safe. We had everything we needed to do the trip safely.
Ma'am, you also discussed something called the bullet head trick, right?
Yes.
That trick involves aiming a real gun at a person's head, right?
Yes.
Man, you know that's dangerous, right?
Of course, that's why it was so important that we were careful.
You're using blank rounds in that trick.
We were supposed to be,
You know that blank rounds can kill someone, right?
not from how far away we were. It was supposed to be okay if they gave us what we asked for,
And you know that blank rounds can kill someone, yes or no?
not the way we were using them in the trick. No,
And is it your testimony you don't believe that blank rounds can kill someone?
it can, but for our trick, that never should have happened.
You did it anyway.
Yes, we did the trick. We were asked to do the trick.
Now, in order to perform that trick, you practiced it, right?
We couldn't. Lambert didn't provide what we needed to practice, so we couldn't.
Is your testimony you never practiced that magic trick?
Not with the planks, not with everything we needed, no.
Ma'am, would you turn on line 100 in your affidavit? Again, that's your sworn statement, right?
Yes,
Promise to be truthful?
Yes.
Ma'am, in line 100, you state that you practiced that trick with blanks.
Not the blanks they provided. Max and I had some of our own from past trips, so we couldn't practice with the materials they were giving us
So you did practice that magic trick, right?
on our own, but not with what we were going to use for the carnival.
Ma'am, you practiced it 7 times.
Again,
Objection, Your Honor. Improper impeachment may be heard.
You may.
Your Honor, this witness has made no contradiction with her affidavit. The witness stated that she wasn't able to fully practice the trick with Max using the equipment provided by the company. That's consistent with what her affidavit says.
Any response?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that's information that the witness added following the impeachment. The original question is if she and Max ever practiced that trick. She said no. It's proper impeachment. They had done it before.
No overruled objection at this point.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, when you and Mr. Maximilian practiced that trick, you guys practiced it 7 times, right?
that's right. I had to borrow a gun from a gun club. I mean, Lambert hadn't given us anything to actually practice with yet.
Ma'am, that wasn't quite my question. You practiced it 7 times, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, every single time you practiced that trick, you couldn't get it right.
But
You performed the trick on July 14th.
he had to. I guess he said that she would sue us if we didn't do the trick.
Nothing further.
Any redirects?
No redirect, Your Honor. We just ask that this witness be excused.
Any excuse? Let's have any witnesses at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Gabby Gray, or excuse me, Angel Ashburn.
Begin
Mr.
with-
Paramore, could you read please?
I can take that.
Oh, the MVP. Binder is okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Paramore.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
First, hello, my name is Angelina Ashman.
Where are you from, Miss Ashmore?
I am from a little town in El Salvador called Navizal. My whole family still lives over there, but right now it is just myself and my 2 cats, Kiki and Moyashi, in an apartment in Little Tokyo.
Can you tell us what you do for work?
Of course, I'm the prop master for the Lampert family party.
What made you decide to become a prop master?
Ever since I was a little kid, I loved magic tricks and big performances, but I just wanted to be part of that magic.
Miss Ashmore, could you just explain to the jury what a prop master does?
Sure, we get everything ready for the performances, the props, we maintain them. I like to think that, sure, every prop master does everything differently, but we all strive for one thing: greatness, efficiency.
Now, ma'am, I have to ask you, do you know why you're here today?
Yes, I do. I am being accused of being responsible for the gun accident that cost Mr. Maximilian's life.
Are those accusations true?
No, they aren't. I mean, Max was my friend. I looked up to him. He was my mentor, and he was a wonderful magician. I did everything I could to keep him safe.
Miss Ashmore, could you just tell us how you first met Mr. Maximo?
Of course, it was a couple of months before the incident. Miss Lampert, she hired him
to come on in and do the last couple of shows in Morado for the summer.
When did you first learn that that magician was going to be performing with a gun?
Not until a couple of weeks before the performance. I mean, Max said that he wanted to do this performance for the last show in Morado.
What was your role in the bullet catch trick?
The same as every show. I have to get all of the props ready, clean them, maintain them, and set them up for his performance.
Well, Ms. Ashmore, are you trained to prepare firearms as the prop master?
I am. I was even the person that got the gun and the ammunition for his show. I am certified with the National Carnival Association as well.
Where did that gun come from?
It was from a local gun store, a used Glock 22.
No, ma'am, while you were preparing that gun for the performance, who all had access to it?
Just two people, myself and the magician's assistant.
What about those blank rounds that you bought? Where did those come from?
The same gun club. It was the only place that had them around, and I mean, I went up and I remember purchasing the blanks, and well, the man behind the counter, he told me that he could only sell blanks and regular ammunition together, so I bought them from that company.
Now, ma'am, you said it was your responsibility to get that gun ready for the performance. Can you just walk through what you did?
Sure. Well, as soon as I got back to the carnival, I made sure that both of the ammunition that were blanks and the regular ammunition were separated out. I wanted absolutely no mistakes when it came to this.
What did you do after you separated the blank rounds from the live rounds?
I cleaned the gun. I wanted to make sure it was perfect for his performance.
Was there anything else you did to make that gun safe for the performance?
Of course, I also test fired it with no incident on the same day of the performance, July 14th, 2023.
Ma'am, once you made sure that that gun was working correctly, what did you do with it?
Well, I put it in the locked box where it goes, and I put it on the stage for Maximilian.
All right, ma'am, we're gonna have to walk through what happened that night, okay?
Oh, okay.
Where were you during that performance?
I was taking inventory in the tent right next to where Max was performing.
Did you see this accident when it happened?
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't see it, but I hear it.
What do you mean you heard it?
I know how that trick is supposed to go, right? To hear the gunshot, and then all of the crowd, they just start screaming and cheering, but they weren't cheering. They were just, but they were screaming.
So what did you do, ma'am?
I started to run. I needed to get to the stage to see what happened. And when I get there, I just see Mr. Maximilian on the floor with all of this blood just pouring out of his head. I didn't know what to do, and I just looked at him and I just.
What did you do, ma'am?
I tried everything that I could. I put pressure on his head to stop the bleeding, and when that didn't work, I started to do CPR on his body, but it wasn't working. And instead, I just realized I just hit him, and I prayed.
Ma'am, what happened?
Yeah. I mean, the ambulance came and they did CPR as well, and they started to shoot his body over and over to try to resuscitate him, but they couldn't do it. So they declared it. They declared it dead. And
Miss Ashmore, do you know what happened with the gun that night?
Mr. Pettimore, I have stayed up every night for a year, thinking about what could possibly have gone wrong. But I don't know. I don't know.
Thanks for coming in today, man. Your Honor, we have nothing further.
False examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ashton.
Good afternoon.
I'll start by saying I'm sorry about what happened to you. And I've just got a few questions for you about your role at Lamper Family Carnival.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I don't keep it clear. It was a hard night, but I will be happy to answer any questions.
I understand that, ma'am. I want to start by talking about your role with the Lamper Family Carnivals. You were their prop.
I was their prop master at the Lamper Family Carnival.
That means it was your responsibility to get any props a performer with you.
Yes, it was.
It was your responsibility to take care of those props.
Yes, you are correct.
It's your responsibility to make sure that those props were safe to use.
Yes, it was.
And you'd agree with me that some props require more training to maintain than others.
That is right, Counselor. There are some props like guns and firearms. Those are going to be more dangerous. They increase the level of safety in any performance.
Guns are dangerous. They require special training to maintain them.
That is correct.
And you've only been through one training to maintain firearms.
Yes, I was certified by the National Association of Carnivals back in 2019.
2019, that was 5 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk about what you did to get that certification. You watched a training video, right?
That is correct.
It was only one video.
Yes,
It was made to be 3 hours long.
yes,
But man, when you watched it, you increased the speed, didn't you?
I did.
So that you could get it done faster.
Sure.
And after that, you still felt nervous maintaining firearms.
At the time, but I got more comfortable as the carnival started to use for firearms. We did once in a while, so I started to kind of feel a better grip on it.
And you just said you got more comfortable as the carnival started to use more firearms, but you actually agree, you felt lucky the carnival didn't use that many firearms at all.
I did, but I was grateful for the experience.
Even though you still felt nervous handling firearms, you didn't go back to watch that training video again.
No, I didn't.
You didn't get any more certifications in handling firearms.
No.
Turn to 2023. That's when you learned a magician would be using a gun in a trick called the bullet catch.
Yes, Counselor, the bullet catch trick.
The magician was Max. We talked about him on the record.
I did, Mr. Max Maximilian. He also went by Max the Magnificent.
He knew that Max was planning on having his assistant fire a blank round at him using a gun as part of his performance.
That is correct. That is what the bullet catch tricks entails. That is why it's so dangerous, because you take a gun and you shoot it right at the person. That makes it extremely dangerous. It's a firearm, of course.
And it was your job to get that gun and those blank rounds for Max, right?
It was.
It was your job to maintain that gun so it would be safe to use.
You're correct. Jeff.
I want to talk a bit more about the state of the carnival in the months leading up to Max's death.
Okay.
And you used to have 2 assistants helping you.
Yes, I did.
The carnival fire.
I believe so, yes.
You felt like the carnival was operating on a shoestring budget.
Sometimes that's how it felt, but it is my job as prop master to make everything work safe.
It's your job to make everything work safely. Man, you felt pretty stretched thin working, right?
I mean, sometimes, sure, who doesn't, right?
You admit that sometimes you'd miss maintaining Max's props from time to time.
Sure, I mean, sometimes you don't need to look at the ball that they choose for a disappearing act, right?
Sometimes maintaining Max's props fell to the back burner.
Yes, that is correct.
I want to talk about the gun and the blanks that you got, Max. On our examination, you testified that the blanks sold with the bullets were the only ones available around. That's right.
Well, it was the only ones from the local gun shop. It was the only local gun shop close by.
I want to talk about what other options you had. You remember putting together an expense report of the different options you could buy?
Yes, we use those expense forms at the carnival to make sure we alleviate the prices and the safety concerns for any materials or purchases we buy.
Approaching opposing counsel, pre-marked exhibit 3, Your Honor. And may I approach the witness with the same?
You may.
Thank you.
Of course. Ms. Ashmore, does this look like the expense report that you remember creating last year?
Yes, it looks correct.
Does this have your signature on it?
Right there, yes.
Plaintiff offers exhibit 3.
Any objections?
No objection.
Shall be sold into evidence.
Now this gives 3 different options for those blank rounds that you could purchase.
That is right. A typical form, it doesn't look like this. All of these, gun and options, they're all blank. It is our job, my job, to fill them out and make sure that all of the options are clear and we know exactly what we are getting for the price.
I want to be clear here. There was a high-end price option to get blanks, right?
Yes, ma'am. There was a high end, a midpoint price, and a low end with 3 different options on what the gun would look like, the ammo would look like, and then what precautions we should take whenever we buy these.
Directing you back to my question, there are 3 different options now.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's all
guess.
right, I understand.
But yes, there are 3 different price points, yes.
For the gun, you ended up going with the lowest price point.
That is correct. That was the one that we ended up going for from the local gun club. Like I said, it was a Juice Club 22.
And for the blanks, you went with the lowest price point as well.
Yes, that is correct. We did go with the lowest price point.
Time.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
So can I inquire how much time I
You
have?
got a minute.
Yes, sir. Ms. Ashmore, do you still have exhibit 3 up there with you?
The expense form?
That's right, ma'am.
I
Ma'am, could you tell us which ammunition level you wanted to buy?
sure. We were going to buy the midpoint.
What happened? Why weren't you able to buy them?
Well, because when I ordered them, they were going to come in on time. And then I got a phone call from the manufacturers. They say that for some reason it has been delayed. So that is why we have to go and buy a different option.
Nothing further.
Officer time. All right, nothing further from this witness. The witness may be excused and we'll take a 10-minute break. Let's come back at 4:45.